Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal podcast, and those of us watching on YouTube channel. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie, and I'm the creator and host of the Neoliberal podcast and YouTube channel. Of course, many of us are familiar with John Anthony Castro, who was on this podcast. We did several shows or episodes together regarding him running for president, and of course, him suing Donald Trump, and we started the Castro v. Trump series, where he would provide an update as to his lawsuit against Donald Trump and his candidacy for president. He was since arrested. His company AI Tax has been dismantled. He has to sell his house, his wife, and 2 kids. They are living with friends, families, and of course, trying to pick up the pieces. But we bring you an update. Today, we're bringing you a critical update on John Anthony Castro because he is in federal prison today on federal tax charges. Now, of course, many of you are aware of that, but in November of 2025, Castro filed an emergency motion for mistrial. Actually, in October, during Halloween, he filed an emergency and followed up with an emergency motion for mistrial, alleging that the government concealed criminal immunity agreements with witnesses, including a deal granted to Linda Rivera, and presented stipulations that he and his attorneys never agreed to. Now, here's what changed the landscape. In the government's response, filed on Thanksgiving, prosecutor Lauren Murphy conceded that Castro's Sixth Amendment rights were violated because he was not given the opportunity to discuss stipulations with the witnesses. The government also acknowledged that evidence had been suppressed. However, in a 54-page response, the government did not address the alleged criminal immunity deal. Castro's legal team argues that by failing to respond, prosecutors forfeited the issue. Despite these concessions, the Fifth Circuit denied Castro's motion for release on December 8th. Now, Castro has since filed a writ of mandamus, seeking to compel court action. His attorneys are preparing an expedited motion for default ruling, arguing that the government's admission should result in immediate relief. Castro has described himself as a political prisoner, asserting that his continued imprisonment persists despite constitutional violations being acknowledged on the record. Through it all, he says he remains hopeful and prayerful. Of course, we will continue to monitor his case closely. And there is a press release that we released in the Neoliberal Journal, is at theneoliberal.com. There's also an article that spells this out some more in RonaldoCMcKenzie.com, the Neoliberal Post at RonaldoCMcKenzie.com. But of course, these are the key highlights. For those of us who want the key highlights, these are the key highlights. And one, the key issues raised: alleged undisclosed criminal immunity agreement granted to witness Linda Rivera and others. 2. Alleged coercion of witnesses into agreements. 3. Presentation of stipulations without defendant's informed agreement. 4. Alleged suppression of evidence. 5. Sixth Amendment violation conceded by government. And 6. Alleged Fifth Amendment violations. Government response: Prosecutor Lauren Murphy conceded Sixth Amendment violation and, of course, a lack of opportunity to discuss stipulations with witnesses. And, of course, secondly, acknowledged suppression of evidence. And thirdly, did not address alleged criminal immunity deal in 54-page brief. The procedural history: 1. Emergency motion for mistrial filed November 2025. 2. Motion for release denied by Fifth Circuit on December 8th and following other suits that were filed by John Anthony Castro's attorneys. Those were denied as well. A writ of mandamus has been filed seeking to compel the lower court's action, and for an expedited motion for default ruling is forthcoming. Additional development: Stephen Gilstrap, the chief of DOJ or former chief of DOJ Appellate Division, resigned in December of 2025 over this said issue, and the current status is that Castro remains incarcerated in federal prison, and further appellate and extraordinary relief motions are pending. This is the Neil LeBron podcast, and of course, that's the latest with John Anthony Castro. Visit us at theneillebron.com and RonaldoCMcKenzie.com. Also on YouTube at Ronaldo McKenzie, and any podcast stream. You can find your stream by going to anchor.fm/the Neil LeBron. Walk good.